Okay, guys, so we're gonna go over our trades for today. Today we traded three stocks, traded JNCE, Jill, and Kodak. So first we'll go over Kodak because that was the one that we traded first. So it was clearly gapping up. It made a pretty huge gap. Let's see. On the 5 minute chart, we can see that it was trading here around $6 down here on this level. Gapped up to over around 850, almost $9. Pulled back, rode the VWAP, this orange dotted line. Then here it kind of broke it to the downside, and then it just kind of started going back up. I wasn't watching it around none of these levels, but I started watching it. This right here is a pretty nice little break here. You got the high of 935. This candle hits a high of 931. This little 5 minute pullback there, micro pullback. We'll break it at 930 up to a level of 975, then up to 1025. Very nice right there. I was not watching it on those levels, but I knew that this stock had potential because yeah, we'll take a look at the daily chart. Let's see if we can. So on the daily chart, we can see that it definitely could move. I mean, it was trading before all this craziness. It was trading around $2. It hit a high of $60 in a matter of 2 days, 3 days. So this stock definitely has the potential to move up. I think if we could have got above 1369, we could have definitely seen a bigger move. But I was watching it for an entry out of the gates. This was kind of setting up here. This was a little bit premature. I mean, I guess the cleanest entry here would have been an entry of the VWAP. 920 it was the VWAP, 921 it was the low of that candle. So we'll keep an eye on that for future setups, maybe pre-market. So this was at 920, which would be 820, 10 minutes before the market opened. So that would be something that would keep an eye on. Maybe entries at the VWAP entries. From there 920 up to a high of 975, 980. So that's a nice 60 cents of profit there. It was a little bit slower move. We'll jump into the 5 minute chart so we can see it in better detail. Let's see. Here we can see the tap of VWAP, and here it kind of just rode this level up higher, hit a high of 980. So we'll go into the trade. I was watching this. Of course, we had a little pullback here, and I was watching this for basically this setup right here, but move higher, quicker breakout, quicker resolution. So it was trading around 956 out of the gates. It opened at 987, actually 950. So what I was watching on this one was immediately buying, buying coming in, green volume, buyers coming in, 950 for a move quickly up to 975, maybe even 10. I mean, I expected that immediately. I mean, it was pretty obvious setup, but today was very choppy. And that's exactly what we got on this stock, chop. So out of the gates, it we did see that volume coming in at 950. I jumped in there with some decent share size. It failed right away. Came down to 938. Yeah, 937, something like that, 935. So it dipped a good bit, 15 cents from my entry. Uh, so I was getting ready to cut it loose, but there was a big bid support at that level. So I'm gonna give this a chance. I thought about adding, but some of my biggest losses were on those stocks that I just kept on adding as they were going down. And I said to myself that I was not going to do that anymore. And I didn't want to start off this month by breaking my rules. So I just kind of sat tight and gave it a chance to come back up. It did come back up to 9. Basically my break even point, my entry point, but I did not sell right away. I kind of decided to give it a little bit more room. It chopped around, and then it came back down to around 940s, and I ended up stopping out there. So the loss was like a 5-10 cent loss, and then a few seconds later, this thing popped up all the way to 987. I mean, it basically did exactly what I wanted it to do, but my timing was a little bit off. So it was pretty choppy. And as you can see here, it respected the VWAP cleanly. You know, it came down to 925, actually 929, and VWAP was 930. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. VWAP entries for any future trades out of, you know, pre-market and out of the gates. So on this one, I was kind of so I stopped out on that one, and it popped up to 980, and I was like, well, this thing definitely has strength. So I thought about, well, maybe if I jump in here for a break of the high of this candle's high, for a move up to 10. But I was like, well, I'm gonna play it safe, and I'm gonna get in where I play my cards a little bit better on these dips. So I waited for a dip down to 950. It broke 950 barely, and I jumped in there for that entry. And this one did pop up about 10 cents. I didn't sell at the very top of my 10-cent profit. I sold about maybe 5-7 cents of profit. But you know, I had the right idea, but it did not recover all the way. I was kind of hoping that it would come to 950 and then bounce all the way back up to the highs of possibly 987 or $10, but it continued to fail. And it's a good thing that I sold where I did, because here it broke this level of 925 and it broke it down to 875, and it just continued to drive lower. Let's see if we took any more trades on this one. I believe that was it. Yeah, that was it, those two trades. And then took a trade on Jill. Jill halted going up. Jill was a very cheap stock, very similar to PSV yesterday. Yesterday was a very choppy day as well. I didn't do a recap, but it was a small red day. The trades were insignificant, basically break-even trades. And let's see. So Jill would pull up the 5-minute chart. Well, let's look at the daily chart. Here we can see that clearly we have this right here shows levels of resistance. So first off, when you look at the chart, you look at, okay, well, we've got a bunch of red candles. So most of the time, history repeats itself. So on this candle, big red candle, you had a big move from 78 cents up to 156. It did not hold that level at all. So that was an indication that today it might do the same thing. You know, here's a 200 EMA moving average. So that's also a level of resistance. But I decided to not pay attention to none of that. I should have. I'm going to start doing it because my days are starting to get, my red days are starting to be more consistent. So I have to change something. So here it was trading at 40 cents. It popped up. I was not watching this really because it was too cheap, $1. But it ended up halting going up, and I saw that here a break of this level 111 is a setup, you know, potentially for a move higher. So I was like, well, I'm gonna give this a shot. It's a little bit cheaper stock, and so I did get in it. Let's see, look at where I got in. So as I was saying, this stock did halt going up. This stock did halt at 96 going up, and it resumed out here at 110. I was trying to get in this one for a break of the whole dollar, an entry at $1, but I messed up my entry order, so I ended up getting a little bit higher. I waited for a little pullback, got in at 105. It hit a high of 110. I decided to give it a chance, you know, for the trying a different strategy, trying to have bigger winners, and you know, bigger winners. Basically, I'm letting them ride longer. So if they're a winner, I'm gonna let it ride. Because usually my trades are anywhere from 5 seconds, or from 2 seconds, 10, 15 seconds, at most 30 seconds. If I'm holding for 30 seconds, it's because I'm losing money. But usually most of my trades are from 2 to 10 seconds long. Almost immediately, you know, they turn into winners, or they're winners as soon as I get in, because I time it just right. But I get out, I take out all my profit right away, so that's cutting my losses a lot. I mean, my winners, it's cutting them in half, and sometimes even more. So what I'm doing now is kind of just letting them ride. So, you know, if I get in the trade and it's green right away, I kind of let it ride. and just see how far it goes up. The only downside of that is that it could come back down to my entry point, like in this case, and basically I have to get out, break even, and there's basically a flat trade, not a winner or not a loser, just a flat trade. I think in the long run that'll be better because my winners will be bigger. I might not have as many winners, but the winners will definitely outdo the losers. That's the plan, at least. Of course, definitely have to keep continuing to read the level 2. That's basically what tells me, okay, no, this thing is just straight up weakness. You have to get out because you have to go off the chart and the level 2. So anyways, on that trade, yeah, it was a break-even trade, and then here you had a little bull flag right there, but it wasn't, nothing super obvious. I was kind of watching this for a dip buy as well, so this candle hit high at 113. What we had seen yesterday on PSV was a lot of bottom bounces, basically. Like the stock will pop up and come back down, find support level, and then bounce back up. So I was watching for the same thing on this one. Got in at the whole dollar at $1, and it did kind of bounce up to 105, but again I decided to hold it, and it it came down. So on this one I was hoping that it would hit $1 and then maybe find VWAP. I guess since if VWAP would have been up there closer to 1, that would have worked better. As you can see here, it kind of held this VWAP support. So VWAP is pretty strong. That's what I'm noticing right now. I have to kind of watch for that. So $1 entry, and then I was kind of hoping for a move up to 113. Nice little 13-14 cents profit right there. Let's call it a day on that stock, but it did not play out that well. I did give this one some more time to play out. I'm kind of, I guess, improving on that, but not too much because I was kind of red on the position for a little bit. So it popped down to 95 cents. It bounced up, and then here definitely this is a bear flag right here. This is a bear flag. So I was like, okay, at the bottom of this candle I have to get out, and I did. At 95 it came all the way down to 90, 92. Kind of consolidated there. It decided to turn around, and it just kind of came up to 103, and then it just kind of chopping around that level. So that's that one. I mean, very choppy, not clean action at all. And the last trade was JNCE. I'll try to go over this one a little bit quicker. Let's see, JNCE. It was one that just popped up. I think this one was on the gap and go, on the momentum, on the gap and go, on the gapper scanner. Because you can see that it was trading at from 5 up to a high of 1150. Kind of just it was pretty weak though. I mean, it couldn't hold that VWAP. Support level. You do have these bigger red uh, candles right there, and then a little small green doji, indication of a reversal. Popped up a little bit, still under the VWAP. So let's see. We'll jump into the 1 minute so we can take a look at it. So this one, yes, this one was one that I jumped in basically without even looking at it. I kind of was a little bit impatient. Yeah, I remember this one. My first entry was on JNC, was on this one. So it came on the gapper. This was a horrible entry. It popped up on the. I don't even think it popped up on the momentum scanner. I think somebody just called it out in the chat room, and I pulled it up. I saw some green volume coming in, and I just threw my order to buy. And yeah, that was a pretty bad entry. I mean, I jumped in there at, let's see, 785 was my entry, and at 785 is nothing here. I mean, I guess the only thing that it might have had going for it was, micro pullback. Potentially get in here for a tap of $8, which that's what happened. But still, it's not a very clean entry. It's not a good entry. So I jumped in at 785. It didn't work right away. I was like, well, I'm in this thing pretty high, and I'm just gonna cut it loose if it doesn't pop up. It dipped down to 70, and came back up to 85 my entry, and I ended up stopping out at 780. For it just, just a few seconds later, maybe 10-20 seconds later, this thing came all the way up to $8. On the next candle, it hit a high of 838. I mean, this thing was pretty crazy after I sold it. So I guess this would have been an entry here at $8. Actually a pretty nice entry. Break $8. You had this first candle to make a new high. This candle of consolidation, little pullback, and on this one, boom, jump in at 8, so squeeze up to 840. Your first profit target would be 850, and it was pretty close, about 10 cents away from it. But definitely, you had this going for it, and then you had this high on this candle right here of 805. So that setup would have worked nicer, but I did not take that trade. I was already out of buying power. And then there you can just see that it couldn't hold that level. It came all the way down, broke VWAP to the downside. I did take one last trade on this one. Let's see, this one was okay, so this one was this one looks really nice here, but I jumped in already after it had made this pop. I jumped in on the bounce. Again, I tried to get filled down here at 820. If I would have got filled here at 820 and sold up here at 840, nice 20 cents of profit, very nice. But I ended up getting filled at 830. It still did go up to 840. I did have about 10 cents of profit. I decided to give it more room, but I should have realized that I got in too high, so I couldn't have given it that much breathing room. So if I would have got in around 820, maybe, yeah, give it some breathing room, but I got filled at 830, and it hit 840, pulled back, and on this little pullback, I was like, well, if it doesn't hold 817, 820, I have to get out because that's kind of support level. It broke that level, came down to 808, and I stopped out around 820. So it was like a little 10-cent loss, unfortunately. But a good thing that I did cut it loose, because on this next candle, 808 was the low of it. To break that support level, there's a chance it could come down to the whole dollar. Breaks the whole dollar, breaks the VWAP, it'll just come down pretty hard, and it did. Came down to 761. So I had a little 10-cent loss, but could have been a 60-cent loss. So from 10 cents to 60 cents, I'd take the 10 cent any day, all day. And then it just kept fading the rest of the day. So that was pretty much it. Today, to summarize the day, it was very choppy. From the moment that the market opened, it was choppy, all the way to I got done trading. An hour or 2 hours later in the morning, it was choppy. I probably took, I don't know, 7 trades, and one of them was green. I could have had a total of 3 green trades, but I gave those 2 other trades room, for bigger profits. That cost me, either break even or a small loss. So that was it for today. One thing that I am going to keep in mind is, watching the VWAP. VWAP levels, this orange dotted line, watching that pre-market and watching it during the market. Pre-market for a dip buy, not a dip buy, well, yeah, I guess a dip buy down to support level of VWAP. And then I'll also watch it for support levels during the market. All right, guys.